Limit state of collapse refers to the strength of structure. A structure or its part should be strong enough to resist the applied design loads. The limit state of collapse includes the design for axial force, flexure, shear, torsion, buckling, etc. The strength of each section must be more than the applied stress on that section due to all expected combination of loads. This video is part 1 on limit state of collapse for structural member subjected to flexure. Here we have the actual stress strain curve of concrete for different grades. From this curve, it can be observed that at strain value close to 0.002, the concrete reaches its ultimate strength. For example, if I consider this stress strain curve of concrete, here you see at strain value close to 0.002, we have a peak stress in concrete, that is ultimate stress of concrete corresponding to this stress strain curve. Now for mathematical formulation for design consideration, the stress strain curve of concrete needs to be idealized. Stress is an abstract quantity, that is, it is an idea. You cannot observe or get a feeling of stress after looking into structure subjected to any load. However, the strain can be observed and measured physically. During collapse of structure, the strain, that is deformation, will be of magnitude that can be visible, and you can observe the failure of structure also. Thus, limit state of collapse of any member means failure of member that can be indicated by the ultimate strain of material. That is, a structure is going to collapse if its material is exceeding its ultimate strain. Now for design purpose, IS 456-2000 limits the maximum failure strain depending upon nature of loading. Turn page number 69 of code and read clause number 38.1b. Here the maximum failure strain of 0.0035 is recommended for members under flexure. Also read clause 38.1c. You will find that it suggests the assumed shape of the compressive stress distribution in concrete and the strain in concrete. An acceptable stress strain curve as per code is being presented, which is shown here. This is the idealized characteristic stress strain curve of concrete. For idealization, the compressive stress distribution is assumed to have parabolic distribution up to a strain of 0.002. And if you see at this strain value, the compressive stress in concrete is the ultimate strength, that is characteristic strength of concrete, which is denoted by FCK. Now beyond this strain, the compressive stress magnitude is not changing, that is it remains straight, which can be observed from here. Now the concrete is going to fail once it reaches ultimate strain of 0.0035. Now as I had said, for flexure the code has recommended maximum failure strain, that is ultimate strain of 0035. So this has been captured in the idealized stress strain curve. Well, we know from our previous discussion that there is size effect in concrete which reduces the ultimate strength in concrete. So this curve here is representing idealized characteristic stress strain curve of concrete considering size effect. Only difference what you can observe from the previous stress strain curve is that for 0.002 strain there is reduced ultimate strength of concrete, which is now 0.67 FCK. So you know why this 0.67 FCK has come. It is just due to the size effect. This strength has to be considered in concrete for your design. By now you also know, for consideration of uncertainty in concrete strength, the design strength can be obtained by dividing the ultimate strength by 1.5. That is, the concrete strength is 0.67 FCK. It has to be divided by partial factor of safety of concrete, which is 1.5. So here in this next curve, which is the design stress strain curve of concrete, which is obtained by dividing the strength of previous curve by partial factor of safety by 1.5. So I will suggest you to visit page number 69 and see figure number 21. I hope you will understand this curve now. Similarly, here we have characteristic and design stress strain curve for Fe250 grade mild steel. The characteristic curve, as can be seen here, is divided by partial factor of safety for material steel, which is 1.15. So if Fy is the yield stress of steel, the design strength of steel will be Fy by 1.15, which is 0.87 Fy, and this value you can see corresponding to the design curve. The yield strain here is 0.87 Fy divided by Young's modulus of elasticity of steel, ES, which is taken as 2 × 10⁵ megapascal. It must be noted that maximum strain in steel at failure or collapse should be above this yield strain in steel. The idealized stress strain curve for steel is assumed to be same in tension as well as compression. Here we have the characteristic and design stress strain curve for Fe415 grade cold worked steel, and this can be acceptable for Fe415 TMT bars also. Since this steel do not have well defined yield point, it can be arrived corresponding to a specified strain of 0.002 by drawing a line parallel to the initial straight line of the stress strain curve. Here this point, which is intersection of line from specified strain with characteristic curve, will correspond to the yield stress. Now in order to get the design curve, we have to divide the stresses in the characteristic curve by 1.15. So if I divide Fy by 1.15, which is the partial factor of safety for steel, we get 0.87 Fy. Now this is the design stress, which can be seen over here. Now corresponding to this stress, I would like to find out what is the yield strain. Now the yield strain, as can be seen from here, it will be 0.002 plus this value. Now what will be this value? This value will be 0.87 Fy divided by Young's modulus of elasticity of steel, that is ES, which is taken as 2 into 10 to the power of 5 megapascal. Now this yield strain has been marked over here. Now at collapse, it is expected that the yield strain is going to be more than this epsilon y. Assumption on limit state of collapse flexure. You can read clause number 38.1 by turning page number 69 of the code. Here you will get aware of the assumption with regard to limit state of collapse considering flexure. Let me try to explain these assumptions. So the first assumption for the design of flexural member is plane section normal to the axis remain plane after bending. Now from this clip, what you interpret? Well, at this point we have plane section, this horizontal line which joins the centroid of cross section is the neutral axis, and let us say its length is L. After bending, at the point specified, you can observe the plane section is still plane and neutral axis length remains same as before bending. Its length remains as L. That is, strain at this level is 0. Here you can clearly see that above neutral axis the strain is compressive in nature and is varying linearly with distance from neutral axis. Extreme top fiber has maximum compressive strain. Below neutral axis the strain is tensile in nature, and the strain is also varying linearly with distance from neutral axis. We have maximum tensile strain at extreme bottom fiber. Strain at neutral axis level is 0. So plane section remains planes means the strain at any point on the cross section is directly proportional to its distance from the neutral axis. I hope you have understood this assumption now. The next two assumptions, that is assumption number B and C, that is the maximum strain in concrete at the outermost compression fiber is taken as 0.0035 in bending, and an acceptable stress strain curve is recommended for the design purpose. Both assumption has been taken care for idealizing the stress strain curve of concrete which we already discussed. Below here you find the idealized stress strain curve which has been reproduced again. Idealization of this curve is based on assumption B and C. Next, the assumption number D, which states that the tensile strength of concrete is ignored. It means that concrete which is in tension below neutral axis are ineffective for strength contribution at collapse state. Assumption D states that the tensile strength of concrete is ignored. It means that concrete which is in tension will be ineffective for strength contribution at collapse state. Assumption number E and F is about the stress strain curve for the type of reinforcement used and the corresponding yield strain for the design. This has already been discussed. Here we have the idealized stress strain curve, which is coming from assumption number B and C. Now assumption D is saying that the tensile strength of concrete is ignored. So consider this bending example. So if my beam is bending in this manner, it means you have tension in the bottom fiber, as can be seen from the strand diagram also, that the bottom fiber is subjected to tensile stress, whereas the upper fiber is subjected to compressive stress. Since we are going to ignore the tensile strength contribution of concrete, now what we'll do, we're going to consider concrete to be effective above neutral axis. So here what can be observed, that my strain is varying from 0 till the maximum strain. Now at limit state of collapse, this maximum strain will be equal to 0.0035. Now corresponding to 0.0035 strain, what will be my ultimate stress in concrete? It will be 0.67 FCK by gamma m, which is nothing but 0.67 divided by 1.5 FCK, which gives 0.45 FCK. So at this level the stress will be 0.45 FCK. Somewhere here in between you'll be having a strain of 0.002. There also you're going to have the stress value as 0.45 FCK. Now the stress distribution will be a parabola from neutral axis till the strain level of 0.002, and beyond this strain the stress is going to be constant, as can be seen from here. So this is the stress distribution corresponding to the strain which is going to act, which is going to be there in the beam due to bending. Okay, from the previous image which we had seen, it clearly indicated that above neutral axis you had compressive strain, below neutral axis you had tensile strain. Now here if I consider the compressive strain, and you see here you have 0 strain. Corresponding to 0 strain you have 0 stress in concrete. Okay, now as soon as I get the ultimate strain as 0.0035 in the concrete, what should be the stress in your concrete ultimate stress? It has to be 0.67 FCK by 1.5, which turns out to be 0.45 FCK. Alright, how is the idealized stress distribution in concrete? It is parabola up to a strain of 0.002 and then it remains constant. So as can be seen, this is a parabola, it is ending here. Okay, so corresponding to this stress, here you are going to have the strain of how much? 0.002. So let us understand this again. Here is the strain distribution in concrete above neutral axis, which is in compression. For 0 strain you have 0 stress. Corresponding to 0.002 strain, the stress will be how much? 0.45 FCK, but the compressive stress distribution will be what? Parabola. Beyond 0.002 strain is 0.0035, up till 0.0035 is going to remain constant and the stress will be 0.45 FCK. I hope this is clear to you. Now here you see XU. XU is your neutral axis depth. So I'll mark this as XU as my neutral axis. So this is the depth up to which the concrete is effective to resist compressive stress in the bending of beam. The concrete is assumed to be ineffective in flexure below neutral axis for the image which we had seen. Alright, because below neutral axis we have tension, so concrete is going to be ineffective. So there you are going to embed reinforcement at certain location, so that reinforcement is going to resist the tensile force. So we'll be talking about what would be the strain in steel at the embedded location in your concrete. Let us discuss stress block parameter now. What is stress block? It is the distribution of compressive stress in concrete across the neutral axis depth. Okay, so you have seen how you have constructed it. Based on the strain distribution, you have constructed this stress diagram. Now this stress diagram is your stress block. Now we would like to compute the stress block parameter. In order to compute the stress block parameter, we will compute first the area of this stress block. So what will be the area of this stress block? Area of this stress block will be area of this rectangular portion plus area of this parabolic portion. Let us say the depth of the rectangular portion is XR and depth of parabolic portion is XP. Okay. So we will be having XR plus XP equal to XU. Alright. Now if I mark this point as O, A, B, P, Q, it is quite clear triangle OAB is similar to triangle OPQ. So what will be OP? That is XP. So I can write XP equal to OA, that is XU, divided by 0.0035 into 0.002. So this gives me the depth of parabola as how much? 4/7 XU. Okay. If I substitute this here, we are going to get depth of rectangular portion as 3/7 XU. So we have this depth as 3/7 XU, this depth as 4/7 XU. Okay. Now what will be the area of this stress block? So area of stress block equal to area of rectangle plus area of parabola. So what is area of rectangle? It is base into height. Base is 0.45 FCK, depth is 3/7 XU. So it will be 0.45 FCK into 3/7 XU. So this comes out to be 0.19 FCK XU. Okay. What will be the area of parabola? It will be 2/3 into base. Base is again 0.45 FCK into depth of parabola. It is 4/7 into, so this comes out to be 0.17 FCK. So the area of stress block is how much? You add this both, you will going to get 0.36 FCK XU. Okay, so this is the area of stress. Okay. Now I would like to know what will be the CG of this stress block, because the resultant stress is going to act at the CG of this particular area. So let me, the CG is somewhere over here where the resultant compressive stress is going to act, and I will say that this is located at a distance of y bar from the top. Okay, so this is the CG location of this stress block. Okay, at this CG location the resultant compressive stress in concrete is going to act. Now I would like to know the location of this. So how you are going to do that? So simply you have to compute the CG of this area. So what would be CG of this area? Y bar equal to area of rectangle into CG location of rectangle from this top fiber, it is xr by 2 plus area of parabola into CG location of parabola from top, so it will be xr plus 3 by 8 xp. So for parabola the CG location from base is 3 by 8 times depth of parabola. Okay, so here it will be xr plus 3 by 8 times xp divided by total area. Total area is 0.36 fck xc. So you get y bar equal to 0.42 xc. Now here you see we were talking about stress block parameter. What are these parameters? So I'll name one of the parameter as K1 equal to 0.36, another parameter K2 equal to 0. So what does these number indicate? So let us understand. First factor K1 0.36. Now area of stress block is 0.36 fck xu. Now this can be visualized like this. This area of stress block can be looked as the average stress over depth xu. Okay, now if I make a rectangle like this such that the area of this rectangle will be equal to area of this stress block. So what will be this dimension? This dimension will be 0.36 fck. So 0.36 fck into xu will give me the area of this rectangle, and also the area of this stress block is also 0.36 fck xu. It indicates that this 0.36, that if I multiply 0.36 with the characteristic strength of concrete, I am going to get the average stress equal to 0.36. So here you see, if I want to know what is the average compressive stress that is acting across the depth of neutral axis, what you do, you multiply 0.36 with the characteristic strength. Now if I want to know the location of the resultant stress which is going to act in the stress block, what we have to do? We have to multiply xu with K2 factor. So if I want to know the location of the resultant, I'll write down location of resultant compressive stress will be how much? So to multiply K2 with xu and you will get 0.42 x. Okay, so the stress block parameter are K1 and K2. What K1 does, if I multiply the characteristic strength with K1, I get the average stress over depth xu, whereas if I multiply K2 with xu, I get the location of the resultant compressive stress of the stress block. I hope these things are clear to you. I hope it is clear to you.